Welcome to Parcel Simulator, where you inspect parcels, get a machine to do it for you, make a conveyor belt, even more machines, automate the process, expand the warehouse, puzzle launchers, bridge conveyors, cargo sorters, design a gigantic factory. Can I get too big to fail? Please consider subscribing and enjoy the video. I awoke in a shipping container, a minimalist but survivable situation, heading outside to find a delivery truck and a building from which I would be henceforth working. I had a desk with a small tablet on which I had an email from my boss outlining exactly my job here. 1. I would need to pick up a parcel from the delivery door, check if its country name and flag matched up with the system, check if its cargo type is being shipped off today, attach the appropriate deny or approve receipt, and finally, throw it down the correct submission gate. I had a new package now, but wait, this flag is different from the one on the system. Denying it correctly, I threw it through the deny gate, getting paid well for it. My next parcel came pre-approved with a sticker, something that would apparently happen more often as I upgraded my warehouse, allowing me to just throw it through and get paid immediately. I had a new email now though, detailing the process of submitting parcels in batches to earn bonus income. I am always down for further monetary compensation, so I got to work inspecting 3 packages, which I laid around until they were all done, throwing them all through the chute at the same time and submitting, getting a whole lot of money. Speaking of money, I could now get the industrial scales. Unfortunately, paying an extra $25 for shipping, inspecting a few more packages to make up for my losses. But wait, do you see this thin package here? The cargo type has a small, ski lift or something. What does this mean? I was fairly certain this cargo type wasn't being shipped today. I nevertheless placed it into the incorrect chute and got penalized for it. Still not in any major financial strife, I exited the building and apprehensively picked up the scales from the delivery truck. Now, why exactly did I need these things? Well, perusing my tablet, I purchased the weight class examination license, which paid an extra $10 per parcel. And although this was life-changing money, I now had more work to do. That being to double check the weight of incoming packages. Luckily though, it was the end of the day, so no packages requiring this work were received, and I could happily go to sleep. The next morning, I had some unfortunate news. That being, I'd received my first bill from Electricity Co. And although it was a measly $36, I couldn't imagine why the company wouldn't pay for it. Still, I got back to work, finding a package with a simple mail icon on the cargo type. Not entirely sure what this meant, I threw it through the valid chute, but unfortunately got penalized for it. Okay, if it isn't one of the currently accepted cargo types, I would just always deny, I thought as I picked up another package and noticed something new. Its weight rating was a B. Placing it on the scales, it read 14.6 kilograms. Okay, now checking the weight tab, I saw that 14.6 actually lay within the C weight range, and such, the package was denied. Am I low-key getting good at this? With it, by the way, unlocked the contract room from which I could accept contracts to earn extra money. There was also a lounge here with some motivational posters, nice desks, a microwave, and a basketball ring. Still, I have no time for this. It's back to work. Opening my tablet, I went to the contracts tab and accepted one that simply needed 2 parcels. More importantly though, I could slip past the truck and outside into the eerie cityscape in which I resided. It was a confined space though. Could I ever find a way to escape? That's foreshadowing, by the way. Also, I may have completely forgotten about the contract at this point, simply inspecting the parcels normally and submitting them for the night. I slightly had my bearings back the next day, inspecting a few more parcels, but correctly leaving 2 of them, which I threw into the back of the contract van and submitted, getting my payment immediately. This allowed me to set my sights on upgrading the warehouse and requiring $700 locked in, submitting a bunch correctly, and with the required funds, expanded the operation. This introduced a different submission chute for specifically air travel packages. Nice! I now need to sort each by their cargo type as well. Anyways, my next objective was purchasing 3 straight conveyors for some reason, an overly expensive task which forced further efficiency in the workplace, eventually triumphantly being able to order them and created a neat little conveyor line. I also purchased a serial number keypad before realizing I needed the serial number verification license in order to use it in the first place. It is an extra $15 per parcel though. For some increased efficiency, I moved the conveyors to in front of the chute. Wow. Grabbing a parcel, I placed it on, and yep. Automation. With my goal of $500 in mind, I set to work weighing each package, checking the flag and country, then submitting them, noticing that air travel wasn't running today, and leaving the relevant packages strewn in a storage. The next morning though, I had another email. Apparently, I could get extra income for each parcel if I accepted new parcel types. Isn't that great? What's not so great is amounting debt. So paying my bill before it expanded, I accepted a $350 contract for 3 Martin destined packages and got to work. unfortunately, through my day, I failed to locate a single package towards this particular destination, reaching my $500 target before that. Fiending for that additional $15, I purchased the license, now daunted by the workload, which, look, I could actually decrease at warehouse level 2 with a scanner conveyor weight. As much as this was exciting, I now needed to manually type in each box's serial number to check its legitimacy. I did this for some while, accidentally wrongly submitting a package, which I couldn't take out, and ending the day with $652 out of the required $1,000. What I did have though was motivation, getting to work the following day, ready to get my hands dirty in an effort to no longer get my hands dirty and begin automation. So quickly enough, arriving at the 1,000 mark, I purchased the warehouse upgrade, unlocking another delivery truck and a mop. But look, browsing the store, there were so many automation opportunities. I'm genuinely just so excited to design and construct a factory. But for today, I finished up getting 3 wrong from cargo type slip-ups. Pretty unfortunate. Okay, though, my main goal is $1,500 for the weight scanner, and as I got to work with packages, I looked forward to ridding myself of manual labor whilst searching for parcels headed to Martine. For the moment, contracts were pretty valuable for me, so securing the required 3, I sent them off in the contract van, continuing on the inspection efforts. Now, it was currently the weekend, which meant that all transport but trucks were paused, unfortunately creating a massive build-up in packages by rail, the second most used cargo type. On the bright side, this would guarantee big profits when Monday came, and as I finished up the day with $995 and arguably more impressively, no incorrect submissions. Now, this would not stay the case, but with ever-increasing efficiency, I completed submissions of the piled boxes the next morning and continued on with new ones in no time at all, finding myself in an enviable financial position. I, of course, blew this immediately on the $1,500 scanner, which I picked up and placed in my small warehouse. Placing the 3 conveyors around it, it was official. I could now fully automate the weighing process. My next objective apparently was to purchase an upgrade on my tablet, but browsing, I found I really didn't need any of them. But look, I have $12 anyway, okay? So getting to work, I excitedly placed the box into my machine and waited and waited and waited. And at long last, a package popped out. Oh no. I may have made an unfortunate financial decision. Still making the most of it, I placed it next to my desk so any accepted box would pop right onto my screen, then lengthened the other side so rejected boxes could pile up. In other news, the following morning, I exchanged my old weight machine for funds and met a small cat living in a cardboard box. Betting was unfortunately unavailable, so returning to my warehouse, I worked away, submitting a perfect ratio of correct boxes and eventually earning a solid $500. Not for long though, as I noticed a new electricity bill having skyrocketed to $144, 15% interest per day. No thank you. So paying up front, I put my head down. The harder I worked now, the faster I could fully automate my systems. Money was the forefront, and smelling a lucrative deal, I completed it for $390, working away, verifying the serial codes, countries and flags, ending today, yes I did get 1 wrong, with a solid $1,000 in revenue, unfortunately lowered by electricity codes greed. Okay, though I need to get this upgrade out of the way, so purchasing some additional delivery size, I opened the store and browsed some upcoming automation machines, including the 2 sticker applying machines available at warehouse level 7. And as much as I was currently level 2, I checked the warehouse upgrade price and made this my new goal. Luckily for me, planes were taking off today too, which meant inspecting and submitting air parcels, resulting in more money, easily enough money, in fact, to purchase the warehouse upgrade, unlocked a bunch of new machinery, and finding level 4 locked behind a contents inspection license. This unfortunately exposed my materialistic tendencies, as upon seeing the additional $10 per parcel I could receive, all I was imagining was dollar signs. Too expensive right now though, instead finding the envelopes and small boxes initiative, which I purchased, earning an additional $5 per box. This could certainly carry me to the $500 required for the new license, and keeping in mind I needed $2,700 for the new scanners I wanted, along with a bunch of conveyors to make the whole system viable, I had a lot of work ahead of me. Inspecting my small stockpile of packages, I filled up the chutes, submitting everything for an impressive 28-to-1 ratio of packages, and almost, look at this, $1,600 in revenue. I made a slightly horrifying realization the following morning. My electricity bill had further ballooned to $198, reminding me that reckless expansion would only end in my demise. So of course, I immediately took my first calculated risk in the purchase of a scanner, so I didn't have to manually enter the serial numbers anymore. I also bought the parcel opening toolbox, which worked with the contents inspection license, and seeing as I didn't have this license, one could say it was a less than useful investment. I'm back to square one, but this time, as I put my head down and worked on submitting the parcels, I had the tools in hand to reach the higher echelons significantly more rapidly. In the end, I was only penalized for 2 incorrect submissions, and I rewarded myself with the $500 content inspection license. Knowing that riches now awaited me, I read my new email saying I now needed to open packages labeled contents inspection required to make sure no contraband was being shipped. None of said packages were around right now, so this was no issue for me, ending the day with $1,400 in the bank, allowing me the next morning to purchase a scanner that checked the stickers on each package. I added it to my preliminary system, excited to see the factory growing. In other news though, I had finally found a contents inspection parcel. I apprehensively opened it with the cutters on my desk, turning out to be a bunch of computer parts. Nothing prohibited looking. It already has a deny sticker though. I'm a generational thinker. But watch out, there's another one. This time I was more prepared, consulting the prohibited contents list on my tablet. Okay, nothing especially suspicious in here, I thought, and accepted it. I continued with this diligent working mindset until the end of the day, finalizing looking up to find $2.1 thousand in the bank. It is all coming together. Purchasing the serial number conveyor, I spent many hours into the night trying to engineer a perfect mechanism, combining efficiency and compactness, eventually coming up with something, but deciding I needed more conveyors to complete my magnum opus. Now, at this point, I had no need for the handheld scanner, so selling it, I pinpointed my next goal as the next warehouse upgrade for $1,600. Being unfortunately currently non-affluent, though, I opted instead for some corner conveyors, attaching them to my system, which was almost barely buzzable at this point, still usable though. And with my increased efficiency, I was able to make 1,000 within the day, opening up another contents prohibited package to catch a jerry can of gasoline inside. We should probably release a arrest warrant. I had a different debacle though. I really wanted a new type of package for extra money, but also needed to purchase the warehouse upgrade, only $100 away. Submitting 2 more, I made my decision and bought the upgrade, unlocking so many new automations and increasing the size of my warehouse. Now, look, the automations was the thing that was actually really exciting me, and for some reason, tearing down my entire setup, I attempted to create a whole new one using all my learnings and new ideas. I worked on a design for this is terrible. Still, it was opening time and setting to work inspecting these parcels. I was surprised to see that it wasn't bad. It was actually really bad. I got 3 wrong by night closing, using my little received funds on even more conveyors in an attempt to salvage whatever it was that I had created. Okay, this might actually work, and hurriedly deciding that I needed $1,900 for another warehouse expansion, I was happy to test it out. First though, rail travel is back in order, so selling all of the backed up packages, I purchased even more conveyors, realizing a little late that I should probably be saving for the new parcel type, which would certainly be rewarding a higher return on investment. Big news though, my horrible creation was now complete. On second thought, looking quite nice. It's compact, it's efficient, and still hustling. After completing a contract for 3 packages marked Southport, I realized all that I needed to do was take packages from the delivery truck to my machine, check the flag and country on the other end, finally add a sticker and submit. My dreams of automation were coming true. Soon, I wouldn't be working at all. At the end of the day, I had a 33-to-1 ratio of correctly submitted parcels and a solid $2,000 in the bank. You know what that means. It's time for a new warehouse upgrade. This unlocked a boats-only delivery chute, which means more work and no extra money. The silver lining was I could now purchase a country and flag scanner. Physical labor is going out of fashion. Things were looking up, and in the not-so-distant future sat the elusive sticker appliers. And setting my goal at $1,500 for the flag scanner, they symbolize the beginning of true automation. I won't even have to sit at my desk anymore. I could just sit and watch money flow into my pocket. That was far in the future though, and accepting a contract for 3 implant parcels, I finally remembered about the new package type and set that instead as my short-term target. I say short-term because production is ramping up. As the warehouse upgraded, I was getting more and more packages with stickers already applied. My plane terminal, due to no travel today, was filling up. There are so many packages. I am madly efficient now. Opening a contents check box, I found some used batteries. They thought they could escape my eagle eyes. Rejected! Box after box, I piled up the air travel parcels and finally finished up for the day. $2.5 1,000. Opening my tablet, I purchased some insulated boxes. 1.5 left, I put the country scanner into my cart and I couldn't afford shipping. No worries, with 3 extra boxes lying around, I sent them through the chutes and submitted, getting enough money and purchasing it. What a grand piece of technology it is. Unfortunately, as it stood, I didn't really have a concrete plan on how to implement it, and after struggling for some time, I decided the best course of action was leaving it to the side until the next iteration. Heading to bed for this very reason, I would now save up for some more conveyors, made easy by the fact planes were finally flying again today. Big money up front, $750 to be exact, but with much work to do, I put my head down, paying a $300 electricity bill. Reminded by the seldom white insulated packages of my increased pay. Gathering up 3 packages, what's he gonna do with them? Bringing them through a door, I chucked them in the back of a truck, shipping them off for $420. This was a solid jumpstart to the impressively financially lucrative day that was ahead. Submitting until the end, I managed to ship off 50 packages, getting only 1 incorrect and ending up with $4.1 thousand in my pocket. And what's more, the automatic sticker appliers are unlocked next warehouse upgrade. Everyone calm down. This is only the most exciting moment of my entire life. To get there though, more efficiency, and sick of this country scanner sitting and gathering dust, I got to work implementing it, putting a bunch of conveyors required to make it happen into my cart before making a mischievous thought. Checking the warehouse upgrade, I needed a stamp verification license. Alright, a quick 500 I see, plus 10 per parcel. Yes, please. So apparently now I need to check if a parcel has a valid stamp. The inspection process was becoming a worryingly arduous system, but nevertheless, I purchased the conveyors, engineering them in a way to maximize efficiency. And what a beauty I had created. You see, all I needed to do was place packages on the input line, as so fill it up, of course, it's very long, has lots of space, hop onto my desk and check the stamp, put a sticker on, and it's done. The package is just ready for submission. I'd said it before, but this really was my magnum opus. I worked solidly for the entire day, finishing up with 39 correct and $6,300. My goodness, you know what that means. I finally upgraded my warehouse, unlocking, I may have unintentionally spread misinformation. The sticker applies are unlocked next level. Yep, I did get a new delivery truck though. I'm not even using the second one. I can't help but wonder if I'm behind. To rid myself of these thoughts, and seeing as I was a wealthy individual, I began the next revamp. Now, the central idea in this was that already valid packages would be automatically submitted without my input. I constructed this entire little system before remembering about cargo types. This chute doesn't accept air or maritime, meaning so many packages would be automatically incorrectly submitted. So I need some kind of cargo type diverter, unlocked in 2 warehouse upgrades time. But look, I do have the inspector diverter conveyor though. I will not be making that purchase. Instead, fiending for this cargo diverter. To make this work, I bought the next warehouse upgrade. Now only one away. What I had unlocked though was the sticker appliers. Once my one and only goal, now just a distraction to this abomination of my creation. They had no place in the current ecosystem. Working hard to complete it and see what could be done, I realized I could upgrade my conveyors. Wow, doing it twice. I don't know what that did. Still, after my efforts, my new little setup was complete. Very likely worse than before. Where am I, by the way? Looming skyscrapers, a desolate city. I would have the opportunity to explore it later. For now, grabbing some more conveyors from the delivery truck, I built up the rest of my contraption, opening for business and filling up the system. I then waited. It's still very slow. Still, some packages were arriving on my desk, which I categorized correctly. Soon buying even more conveyors, which I used to construct a path for the accepted packages, diligently working throughout the entire day, ending with 3,500 in the bank, and the conclusion that my factory was actually decent, just a little bit convoluted. As such, a fully automatic denial system has a ring to it. I am going to build it. First came the invalid sticker applier, which I placed on the conveyor track in a strategic spot so it didn't waste time stickering the already stickered packages. Alright, step 2 was the track going all the way to the deny chute, which unfortunately I did not have the conveyor belt length to reach. Now, either way, the system could be fully automatic, but I still needed to load the packages from the truck onto the system, and searching for a solution, I found the upgrades tab on my tablet, locating the conveyor belts connecting to the delivery doors upgrade. Full automacy was possible. Wait, I've made a mistake though. As you can see, the incorrect serial numbers go down the bottom path, avoiding the sticker applier. I got to work fixing it. This does not fly in the high standards set by the Red TM workplace. It was certainly a hassle, but everything is now in working order. Also repairing the approval system some more. It's all coming together. Maybe this all along was my magnum opus. Still, this was a hasty evaluation, and hoping this could carry me to to the max warehouse level, so of course I could fully automate all the delivery doors. I headed to bed. Day 20, October 24, 2065. It's time for another day at work. Keep off the grass, no defecating on the grass, and do not have too much fun. Also, I have another expensive bill due today. Pretty unfortunate stuff. Now, my only concern right now was saving for the conveyor belts. Certainly not helped by the fact that rail wasn't running today. Nevertheless, piling up said packages and ending the day with a fairly unimpressive 26 packages correct. This was enough, though, to purchase a massive amount of new conveyors. Carefully unloading them from the truck and throwing them inside, I continued the belt going all the way to the invalid chute before making the unfortunate realization I was missing 2 pieces of conveyor belt. Purchasing them both, I grabbed them, placed them down, and oh my goodness, it's truly a beautiful thing. My next goal is $2,800 for the next warehouse upgrade. More excitingly though, getting to work the next morning, I could finally watch my auto submitting system. A package would pass through the scanners, then get stamped, then go all the way down and deny itself without my intervention at any point. Keep in mind too, it's still the weekend, so rail travel is offline, so the rail package pile is getting more and more out of hand. I can literally see how much production has ramped up. I could watch the pile of invalids get submitted, also filling up the plain packages storage. There are just so many boxes everywhere. I got 36 correct today though, and with 3.5 grand in my pocket, I headed over and upgraded the warehouse. Okay, everyone calm down. First on the agenda, okay, no new licenses. Hard shell containers are warehouse level 10. In the shop is, there you go, it's the stamp conveyor, but also further down was the cargo type diverter conveyor, both of which I wanted my hands on. And the next morning, as I got all of the rail packages submitting, I realized how much money I would need. But at the same time, I was apprehensively excited, as this would also allow me to get the approved sticker applier, and with the inspection diverter conveyor, I could achieve true automacy. Now, I bought the stamp checker and a few conveyors, which I spent some time implementing into the design. Unfortunately, I was not wealthy enough and ran out of conveyors before it was complete. I say was because I'd soon become very... For now though, I think I'll get the inspector diverter and approved sticker applier next, and with these straightforward goals in mind, I worked the entire day, having to be the temporary substitute to the hole in the disapproved line, finishing up the day with that, wait for it, incomprehensible 71-to-1 ratio. This was massive. I have 5 bands in my pocket, allowing me to finally buy the conveyor deliveries upgrade along with the inspection diverter and the cargo type diverter. I had undeniably splurged, and what's worse, I couldn't even utilize them yet, so I put them to the side, buying more conveyors and using them to stitch up the initial system design. And look, don't get me wrong, it looks great. I just need more money though. If only I'd made slightly more intelligent financial decisions. Well, you cannot change the past, you can only change how it affects your present. So with the boats finally back the next morning, I submitted all 11 packages, getting all of them correct, receiving a quick 1.5k. With this great start, I began the day, quickly though being reminded of the glaring issue in my system. That being that various cargo types with the sticker already applied would be automatically incorrectly submitted, and I began to think on how I could possibly fix this issue. My solution? I need to move this sticker inspector and thus the entire factory, which would be too much effort though. Yeah, so for now I just acted as the inspector, manually removing any of the packages that could break the system. And yes, plain packages are once again piling up. It's a bit of a mess, so I was happy to see the day end with a solid 47-to-1 ratio and $4,700 in my bank, which was, by the way, easily enough money to begin work on the largest revamp yet. I began by moving all the machines into the middle of the room, placed in a way that parcels could easily and efficiently be scanned. My main goal with this was both modularization and making space for the cargo sorting, making use of my classic design in which accepted parcels would move on to the next diagonal machine and rejected ones would just go down, joining all the others. I could easily add onto it just by joining another machine one diagonal further, and even starting on the cargo sorter, and although it was incomplete, I was happy with where my factory was headed. Next morning, it was finally planes today, submitting a solid 20. I got 19 of them correct, starting off already with 6.4 bands in my pocket. Electricity bill? No worries for a guy like me. Fiending to spend though, I bought another cargo sorter and the famed approved sticker applier, along with a hefty load of conveyors, including a bridge conveyor going over another conveyor. A truly mystical piece of technology. With these implemented into the design, cargo can now be fully sorted and both stickers are applied automatically, other than the inspection required boxes. Admittedly though, I was missing some vital pieces, and with a measly $17 in the bank, I was forced to submit the parcels from the very far away delivery truck, and even after that came just short. That's fine, the main system still works, and I apprehensively began the day. After some time of running, you know what, it's better than expected. I had to sub in for a bunch of missing conveyor belts, but other than that, oh no, I had found an issue with the system, that being that a package with invalid cargo type would be approved by the system, so it has the wrong sticker, then just wander off and completely clog up the cargo sorters. But when the machine is running, there is no stopping it, so I had to manually peel off the wrong sticker and replace it, finishing up the day being sure to mop up for that extra $2, ultimately ending with a 72-to-1 ratio and 4.2 in straight cash. Waking up the following morning, parcel inspections for morons must be for the next guy. Improvement and repair was on the agenda now, and I decided that I needed one more cargo separator system at the start of the factory to flush out all the invalid ones, so I bought one more along with a bunch of conveyors once again. Okay, this is a lot of conveyors. Throwing them all back inside, they were handy in building the invalid cargo diverter, utilizing a bridge conveyor for the maritime and air parcels, completing the track to the deny chute along with the track from the delivery doors. A lot had been achieved, but I was still missing a bunch of corners and diverters along with the tracks going to the cargo specific chutes, and after scooching over the deny sticker applier, I opened for the day, becoming wholly aware of the bottleneck in my operation, that being the entire operation. These machines are just so slow, but functional. Less could be said about the invalid cargo diverting system though, as I was yet to witness it doing its intended purpose. And right on cue, there it is, an invalid cargo type. Nervously watching it get closer to the cargo sorter, hoping it would function, it entered the machine and failed. I would need to find another way. Things were seemingly falling apart as I had pinpointed the bottleneck to my first machine specifically. Just look at the pile up of boxes. Those are lost profits right there. But you know what they say, diamonds are made under pressure and are also worth a lot of money. I have an idea on how to repair the cargo system, completing the day first with a 44-to-1 ratio and 4K in the bank. A decent day, but now I need 3 more cargo sorters for my plan. Hear me out. Okay, first, oh my goodness, I'm financially crippled, but along with some more conveyors, I made the large purchase and carefully redesigned the small sorting system, calibrating each diverter to flush out the invalid types, making the unfortunate realization that I still needed 4 more diverter conveyors in order to complete it. I went to bed, crafting up a temporary solution while I saved up for the new required parts, just letting them through. I began the day. Being still yet to even utilize the other 2 delivery doors, I dreamt of a whole nother factory on the other side of the warehouse as I just delivered parcels, picking up the invalid cargo type packages and fixing their stickers. It was an alright day monetarily, and being able to purchase some of the required conveyors, I finalized the starting cargo sorters, officially completing the project. Now, invalid cargo types will be automatically flushed out before even entering the factory. I was happy. Upgrading the sticker scanning machine in an attempt to remove the bottleneck, I slept. It was time to make some real money. Okay though, would my new cargo sorter work? I watched nervously as the correct parcels passed through without fault. It's a little slow, but I'm sure that will improve with time. And as time is money, I spent some on upgrading all 4 sorters for extra speed and got back to my usual package inspection and delivery job. Wandering back to check on it to realize it just doesn't work. If a package is invalid, it doesn't pass through a cargo sorter. It just has no idea. It just completely forgets. What do I do? Was I missing something big? Am I being an idiot? The latter turned out to be the truth. As browsing through the shop, I spotted it. The cargo type scanner. It was simply a machine this entire time. Slightly embarrassed by my own incompetence, I grabbed it from the delivery truck, preparing the area for implementation, buying a bunch more conveyors to make sure everything worked, and finally was able to set it up, making sure not to waste the leftover conveyors by constructing the truck and rail cargo exit slightly closer to their chute. This did though mark the sad ending to my invalid cargo sorting system, which I ripped apart, simply hoping I could find another use for the pieces. I then bought 9 straight conveyors. Why did I get these? You may be asking. Well, as I bought them inside, they were a product of my lack of patience, placing them in a rather useless belt connecting truck cargo to the truck cargo chute. These packages were now fully automatic. I have saved maybe 30 seconds per day. Still, my next goal was to upgrade the warehouse for further scanner upgrades for increased speed, so checking it 3.1 thousand. You know what? Not too bad. It even unlocks the prohibited items scanner, which I want. Opening the warehouse, money was once again the forefront, and I decided just to complete some contracts. First up, 2 Vokua packages, both of which I located fairly quickly and threw in the back of the contract van. Easy money, and looking for more of a challenge, I found it. 2 parcels with an invalid serial number. Not accepting it to avoid the cancellation fee if it couldn't be completed, I returned to my factory to find nothing moving. The perpetrator was a prohibited contents box on a diverter that, to my own fault, went nowhere. Well, everything was moving again, And my plan was simple. I would just camp the serial number checking machine until a package was rejected, grab it and throw it in the back room. Alright, one done. Also making sure the rail mail wouldn't clog up the system thanks to its incomplete track, I located the second contract package, slammed the truck doors shut and submitted. Easy as that, a quick $430. These contracts though must have been impacting my performance, as by the end of the day, I'd only submitted 24 packages, resulting in a measly 2.9 thousand. Not even enough for a warehouse upgrade, but yes, enough for some more conveyors, which I used to fix a hole in the deny track and delete prohibited packages to my desk. My magnum opus was almost complete. Wow, there are just piles of packages. I obviously needed some storage for each cargo type, but that's for the future. For now, the spare weekend rail packages had paid well enough, in fact, to purchase the warehouse upgrade. Unfortunately, still unable to further upgrade the starting scanner. Also, now very poor, I was back to work inspecting the contents of packages and submitting batches of parcels, ending the day 47-1. Not bad at all. Yo, there's something down this chute. Jumping forth, I repaired the jam, spending some time filling the machine and paying a $500 bill. I was pleased with my financial progress and decided to buy a prohibited item scanner for $2,000. As it sat in my cart, I was aware this was a big investment and got to work preparing the area for its implementation, adding a bunch of conveyors to and making the large purchase. It took some time bringing everything inside, but finally I was excited to build up my modular design one further, fully completing the inspection process. This marked the date that I would no longer have to sit at my desk. It felt good, but progress must not halt, creating a skeleton for the rail storage system for the weekend pile-up. Alright, it's the morning though, time to make some money, because I certainly need it. Maritime travel was open today, so submitting a bunch of packages, I was now well funded enough for another conveyor belt haul. Today guys, I got a rare piece, the bridge conveyor. It looks really cool. In a further attempt to maximize efficiency, I connected the second delivery door to my factory and was proud to see at the end of the day, after my system had fully flushed out, that I had made 5k with a 73-0 ratio. My factory was big, but to get the later achievements, this was nothing but pocket change. Browsing the store, I picked up a loader and an unloader conveyor, along with a storage rack, a pauser conveyor, and some other goodies. What are these for? You may be asking them. Bringing them inside, I got to work building my first storage system. Now, on weekends, rail parcels would be loaded onto the storage, then the unloading system would be stopped by the pauser conveyor. My single button storage system was complete. It was small, but it would do, turning my focus to storage for air and maritime too. That is a big investment though. So starting the day, I watched my funds quickly reach the 3,000s, and after working on extending the air and maritime tracks, I purchased another storage, loader, unloader, etc., along with a bunch of conveyors, a massive order filling up the truck. It took an age just to get them all out. I don't want to carry these all inside. Luckily, there is a simple solution. Purchasing a pallet, I could now hold 12 items at once, and wondering why on earth I hadn't made this purchase earlier, I bought them all inside and began work on the air travel storage system. Unfortunately, I did run out of conveyors, but with ample financial backing, I simply purchased more and completed the storage. For the meantime, at least, I expected to increase the storage capacity in the future, but all in all, a successful day. I finished submitting all the air packages, getting 108 done in the end with a perfect ratio. Is that big money in the bank I see? It's time for another warehouse upgrade. I unlocked a better pallet and another delivery truck, which was, not on my wish list. But look, my warehouse was gigantic now, and I was only taking advantage of a tiny little corner over there. It was time to build a larger factory, especially since I needed 1 million in earnings for an achievement. I am quite far from that milestone. Step 1 for the new factory was $4,000 to upgrade the first machine for more efficiency, for more money. That'd take a while though, so having a seat, I discovered the hard shell containers for 5,000 plus 15 per parcel. As I worked the entire day, I pondered if that was the right play, eventually finishing up with more than 5k in the bank and purchasing the new parcel type. Excited for big money and a new factory, I headed to sleep. Today though was a test. As air travel was on today, I simply activated the pauser conveyor, and just like that, the parcels were being submitted. A marvel in engineering. Generally helping around the factory, when I reached 4,000 again, I finally upgraded the sticker scanner. Amazed at its newfound speed, I realized I should definitely upgrade the other 6 machines too now. That's 30 grand. So cleaning up a bit with the mop, I made $3. A solid starting point. Then, just as a little experiment, I had lots of parcels still in the machine, headed to bed, and was disappointed when I returned to find no progress having been made. Oh well, paying my $500 electricity bill, there was no time to complain. Turning off the rail system too, I was happy to see it functioning as intended, but with $30,000 still to obtain, I was frustrated by how slow the second machine was. So, as soon as I got my first 5k, I upgraded the serial number scanner. Happy to see its speed doubled, and with massive plans for my warehouse, I focused on maximizing profits, even waited around after hours so my factory could fully flush out with 3.6 in the bank out of 25k left. It's Sunday today, so all of the other cargo types are still down. Slightly worried that my rail storage would overflow, I begrudgingly paid a bill and checked some contracts, finding out none of them were really profitable for me at the moment. After some time though, my worst fear had come true. My rail storage could no longer accommodate all of the parcels. Still wanting to upgrade the machines first though, I simply piled the extras on the floor. Man, things are becoming a bit of a mess, but the only ship that finds new lands is the one that was brave enough to lose sight of the port. Reaching the 5 grand mark again, I upgraded the third machine down the line, waking up the next morning relieved to find rail travel back on, and began throwing all of the discarded pile of boxes down the chute. As the storage continued to automatically empty too, I was surprised to see 40 parcels having been submitted and 7.3 bans received. Fourth machine upgraded, 3 remained. The issues continued though, as I found my air storage quickly filling up and my boat parcels didn't even have a storage. So I just threw them all into the chute, not submitting of course, taking a moment to simply marvel at my great factory. 5k again. Upgrading the 5th machine, leaving 2 left. My profits were higher than they'd ever been, and I was excited to double production as soon as I was done here. Without human intervention, by the way, mistakes were basically completely gone. Checking the television to find the 101 correct submission streak I was on, reaching another 5,000 after hours, leaving only a single machine left. Things were looking great, and I ended with 146 to 0. I was so close. Boats were being shipped again today, so I sold 13 in a row, watching my money tick up until finally I reached the famed 5,000 mark. Once again, upgrading the final machine, and it was done. At long last, it was time for the biggest expansion I'd ever done. I planned for an entire another factory identical to the first one, so ordering a bunch of pieces of machinery, not even all that was required, costing a whopping 9.7 thousand. I can't afford that. Hoping that saving for this wouldn't take too long, it seems I'd forgotten how efficient my factory had become. Packages passing through machines with speed, being sorted and submitted without my input. Night had arrived and I finished with almost $13,000. 138 packages in a day, but temporarily waiting until I could afford all of the machinery that I wanted. I was happy to see the next day that the planes were finally taking off again, as my storage of these parcels was absolutely full. I got to submitting them all for impressive personal financial benefit, finally buying all of the new machinery for the great expansion. Heading over to the 2 unused delivery doors, I used a few conveyors I had left over for a basic input, then began lining the scanners up in a design identical to my first factory. Alright, the skeleton was done, other than one scanner that I was missing, so purchasing it along with a diabolical amount of new conveyors. I used the pallets to bring everything inside and spent the night building up a solid beginning to the second factory, commonly returning to my first one to remember what I was doing. Finishing up my chores by submitting all of the piled up puzzles from factory 1, I headed to bed to see a solid profit of 14.5 thousand in a single day. As such, I was happy with another expensive investment in the form of a large pallet, heading inside to quickly pause air parcels, and after dropping off all the new conveyors, I spent some time looking over the first design, ordering the 2 sticker appliers, and continuing on work to complete the second factory. I had all but finished the denial runoff system when I decided to temporarily return to factory 1 to find an abominable holdup. The chutes were all full but weren't being submitted. Now, checking the upgrades tab, there was an automatic exports upgrade, but it was far too expensive of an investment to make when I was currently in the middle of such a large expansion. I am so lazy though, so purchasing it anyway, I was satisfied as I watched it work, now able to just leave the factory to run and get infinite money. Okay, no stress though. I was able to purchase 28 new conveyor belts and bringing them inside. Wait, I can hold all of them on a single pallet. Oh Oh my days, the tower of conveyors. My hard work was rewarded too as I next built up the cargo sorting system. Eventually happy enough to say that this factory was complete, other than hooking it up to the outflows. Soon my income would effectively double. But first, there's a pile of maritime puzzles here, and constructing a boat package storage seemed like my top priority. But unlike previous times, I didn't have to sit and save up. I could simply order the pieces immediately, place down the large storage rack, and just like that, it was complete. Is this what true financial freedom feels like? Alright, all 3 storages were now complete, the last step being to hook everything up, and I would finally receive my return on investment. I found a couple of cargo sorters that I didn't use, and disliking that they were just lying around, I sold them all before buying up another warehouse upgrade. Why? Well, I was now 1 away from unlocking the launcher conveyor. You see, the chutes were so far away from this second factory that I thought a great idea would to have them just fly the packages across the room to get there. This plan unfortunately was quickly dissolved when I bought one more warehouse upgrade, unlocking a new delivery door for air and maritime packages. As much as this did make things significantly easier, they did make things significantly more boring. So swearing to still use the same launchers, I bought a couple, placing them and dropping a package on top, and they fly a reasonable distance. They could certainly be longer though, I thought. Just wait until I realize I can upgrade them. I spent the night getting ready for some more storage systems and transport. Now, the discovery of the new delivery door was actually quite polarizing, as now I couldn't finish the new factory until I had found the rest of the doors and thus fully upgraded the warehouse. Luckily, there was still work to do before I reached that point, so continuing to build the conveyor tracks, I was working on my tablet when I suddenly got a notification of 12 failed submissions. It turns out I had forgotten to pause the air parcels. This was a massive loss. My all-time accuracy was down, profits were down, everything is terrible, but 3 large upgrades to the parcel delivery truck, my inventory days were sure to decrease. Next on the to-do list was upgrading the rail storage system. So purchasing some more conveyors and a smart splitter, I placed them in a manner that parcels would be automatically sorted, finalized other than the actual storage rack. Not even only here, the packages everywhere were piling up. The rail parcels, the boat parcels. I really needed some funding right now, as the other factories simply sat dormant. Rail packages at this point were blocking the entire system, so deciding it was mandatory, I purchased a second large rack, placing it, then buying a whole third one, deciding only now that the rail storage was complete. But at long last, Sunday was over, and I could finally see the system function again properly the next day. And function properly it did. I already had so much money, enough in fact to purchase another warehouse upgrade, revealing to me the rail parcel delivery chute. My warehouse was nearing max level and still having funds left over. I bought a bunch of conveyors and storage equipment in preparation for opening the new factory. Before I started though, I checked the first factory to find it at a standstill. That's right, one little package had bugged and completely blocked the entire system. Well, it was all fixed up, and keeping a keen eye on it, I spent the day testing out the package launcher, closing up for the night with $10,000 in my pocket, which I obviously spent on purchasing the final warehouse upgrade. With this, I now had another invalid parcel submission as well as the truck parcel submission, along with the heaps of money I had left over, which I used on purchasing 9 launcher conveyors, which, placing on a linear path, I planned to become the connections between the second factory and the outlets. So, of course, I could finally start making some profit. It seemed a couple more conveyors were needed for this to happen though, so purchasing even more, I picked them up, finishing the first draft for a conveyor line all the way to the invalid submission chute. Good news, the following morning, maritime packages are shipped today. Alright. With a nice injection of funds, I purchased even more conveyors, which continuing work on the rail section helped to finalize it. Before, of course, I remembered it also needed a storage system. This entire factory, by the way, is yet to make a single cent for me, paying for its 3 massive storage racks and some loaders. I was ever aware of the increasing investment amount as I placed them. Submitting a couple more packages, I had $4,000 in my pocket, which I used to buy even more conveyors, placing them as to bring the rail storage packages to the chute, designing quite an idiotic 3 lanes merging into one, departing the storage. Happy to see that rail was now finished. Not in any particular financial difficulties, I began the day and got to work on air and maritime storages. Opening the shop and making a large conveyor purchase, I was able to finish up, although it was only single storage racks, both of the systems. Next, utilizing some launcher conveyors, I hooked up the truck chute, and at long last, the great investment was ready to pay off. The factory was complete. Placing the final conveyors at the entrance, I watched in anticipation my one and only magnum. Wait, what? Nothing's happening. The first machine has just completely broken. It can't input any boxes. It's not scanning them. They aren't fully inside. Well, you know what they say, turn it off and on again. Sleeping well and returning, my factory had automatically submitted 12 plain packages on the wrong day. What's worse, the initial machine still refused to function. Even upgrading it didn't work, so deciding on some more in-depth analysis, I peeked around to find a box half clipped into its bottom, removing it, and finally, it was working. The second factory was officially making me money. Wait, I made a mistake though. The already valid box track just went nowhere. I'd completely forgotten to hook it up. On top of this, I found a pile-up of boxes next to the launcher, which weren't nearly as reliable as I'd first imagined. I was forced to increase the landing strip area, caving in and making a giant purchase of emergency conveyors to fix this mess of a launch. First up was the initially valid parcels, building up a quick conveyor path to the cargo sorters. Lastly, I moved to the end of the rejects track, further back for a longer runway, and with all the launches sorted, it seems the second factory was now in working order. Alright, day 47. Opening the delivery doors, I started air travel, but really just not wanting to see factory 2 right now, I realized I could fully upgrade the main factory machines for 10k each. With only one though, I'd crippled my financial situation, checking on factory 2 to find a hold up on the rejects line, all from an overshot tiny package. The launches just really aren't worth it, creating all kinds of massive pileups due to nothing but bugs. In an attempt to repair the situation, I bought a bunch of bridge conveyors just because they're long, spent the entire night fixing up the mess that was factory 2, and inadvertently creating a whole new one, but that's for the near future. For now, I thought it was repaired, submitting the last of today's parcels, ending with a 236-to-1 ratio and 20k in the bank. That quickly became 0 as I upgraded 2 more machines. It was time though for the ultimate stress test. You see, it was the weekend, and opening up for deliveries, I was interested to see if all my storage systems were working correctly. Watching the factory intently for a while, I decided my next step was upgrading the conveyor belts. Do not ask me how I reached such a conclusion, locating the more important ones and beginning to upgrade them. 150 for each to max level, splurging a large sum on making 1 row of super fast conveyors. Hoping this wouldn't be super useless, I watched over for the day, carefully getting another 10,000 by lights out and upgrading 1 more machine to max. Bad news though, at this point I was only 286,000 out of the 1 million I needed in profit for the final achievement. As I began the day, this was certainly a hit on my confidence, especially as I thought the second factory would carry me to this achievement. No, in reality, this factory just kinda sucks. Packages are stuck on the bridge conveyors, packages are floating on top of other packages are phasing through other packages on the floor, everything is a disaster, and I'll come clean. I just couldn't be bothered right now, so returning to the first factory, I decided I would fully upgrade all the machines here before repairing factory 2, happily reaching 10,000 and purchasing an upgrade, leaving only 1 remaining. I might as well check on the other factory, I thought, and as I suspected, there has been an unfortunate incident while I was gone. This is why I will never be using launchers again. In an attempt to repair the situation, I replaced the launcher with straight conveyors, stacking the entire pile of lost parcels onto my large pallet and bringing them over for submission. There seems to be an unfortunate amount of work to complete, including expanding my storages as much of them were nearing capacity. Feeling defeated, I returned to my shipping container. New day, new me. Revitalized on a Monday morning, I reached the esteemed 10k mark and upgraded the final machine in the first factory. A grand milestone, followed by me not so grandly wasting money on upgrading the surrounding conveyors. Alright though, my next venture will be expanding the first factory, whatever that entailed. For now, arriving at the second factory to upgrade most of the machines there, ending this reasonable day with 28,000 in profits. Rails are finally open, getting them submitting, also upgrading the final machine to max level. My next venture will be expanding the first factory, for now leveling up the second factory machines, showcasing just how far my warehouse had come by the fact I had all of them to level 2 by the end of the day. 28,000 in profits today apparently, and thus it was time. As with any failed project, I was to forget about it and move on, purchasing a crazy 10 grand worth of new scanning equipment, placing them neatly in the last clear corner of my factory. That's right, I was constructing factory 3, only a necessity, seeing my distance to the 1 million profit mark. Once I was satisfied with the design, I ordered some conveyors to finalize the deal and get a skeleton started on my new moneymaker. Of course, opting for the classic red TM design, I closed up for the day, submitting all the last parcels for a total of 350 correct packages and 37.8 thousand in revenue. I had really turned things around. I used some of this money on straight conveyors the next morning, which I used to continue the construction of factory 3, noticing only now that the entire system was clogged up thanks to a lack of plain parcel storage. Actually, it seems like everything's moving again. I guess it was another bug or something. Yeah, back to work on factory 3 then. Putting some bridge conveyors over important areas, I picked up my newest gigantic batch of conveyors from the delivery truck and begun work on the rail rail parcel track when I noticed a distinct lack of movement. Turns out a box was bugged inside of a machine. Luckily, removing it, I got everything back working. Now, skeptical of the efficiency of both my factories, I worked on connecting the invalid packages to the closest suitable outlet. Next, buying a heap more equipment and getting to work on the cargo sorting system. For now, I planned to connect the rail packages to the very first outlet chute, beginning the track in that direction. Needing a bridge conveyor, I purchased one, having a nap and awaking to some horrible news. I switched off the air parcels to find this, an abomination, a giant pile of maritime parcels, a result of lacking storage. I decided to ignore it and hope it disappeared. In the meantime, continuing construction on Factory 3. Fine, I ordered a bunch of storage equipment and returned, utilizing large racks and a smart diverter to triple the storage capacity, leisurely cleaning the remaining floor puzzles. I was proud of my work. Factory 3 needed storage too though, and buying more pieces, I realized I forgot about the other half of said storage system. Quickly completing that and returning to the third factory to hook up the rail parcels attached to another storage rack as to not overwhelm the system. Things are looking up. Still lots of funds in hand. I purchased more conveyors in order to connect the truck, air, and maritime packages to their respective chutes from Factory 3, aware that I couldn't open for delivery yet as everything would break. Truck was first, happy to see the bridges coming in handy, and completing the connection, I next worked on air parcels. Once again, heading under a bridge, I connected it up, disappointed to realize I now had no space for maritime. Alright though, if I move this track to the side, I'll have space for a bridge going over, leading track all the way around the rail storage over another 2 bridges to the other side of the maritime storage where it finally hooked up. Things were becoming a bit of a mess, but you know, that was the worst of it, until I made a horrible realization. There were no space for inputs into Factory 3 to begin with. I was so intent on finishing it that I hadn't looked at the very beginning. I spent the morning completing various experiments on how I could solve the issue, squeezing a track through an open space, then using a bridge to overlap 2 tracks. I had been just about successful until I accidentally began the day and was forced to block off the deliveries. The final challenge with this was hooking up the rejects and valid parcels. You see, there was only space for 1 track heading through the second factory input area, so deciding I would send them through and resort on the other side, I built a long conveyor, bridging over and arriving at the other side. My only option was snaking the entire perimeter, which meant I also needed to pass the air and maritime chute, quite convoluted before I fixed it up. New delivery of conveyors too, enough to get me all the way to the rail input chute, hopping over that too, and now realizing I could just attach it to the reject chute. This was of course because, returning to the start, I had realized I could just attach the valid parcels to Factory 2's sorting system, officially finishing the 3rd factory. I spent some time marveling at my creation, the gigantic factories, the maze of conveyors, a product of rapid growth without proper planning. I was nervous as the first few packages entered the new system, as at this point all the tracks were so convoluted, if something broke, I would have no idea on how to fix it. Would it all collapse? Was it all for nothing? Everything looked fine. I was confident enough to go back to upgrading conveyors, accidentally upgrading a launcher and seeing the package go flying. Pretty cool, but I'm getting some incorrect submissions here. According to my tablet, a lack of submission sticker, and I was lucky to catch the issue as the sticker applied just being on the wrong track. Alright, all fixed up. Also purchasing the final delivery truck upgrade and leveling up a bunch more conveyors from Factory 1. Things were looking so good. I was at full capacity. Factory 3 is super slow though, and thinking of upgrading it, I suddenly saw my incorrect parcels spike up. Checking my tablet, it seems I'd let through some maritime packages. That's right, I'd opened boat travel rather than air travel, losing big profits and time. Air travel was a rare opportunity, and I sat and watched my storage empty out. The following morning, I was on troubleshooting duty. Locating a small hole in the rejects line, I repaired it quickly, then finding a small hole in the rail travel track, which was too swiftly dealt with. At long last, I could simply sit back and make money, watching in satisfaction as my one and only, yes, I've said it before, but this time for real, magnum opus ran. The day wrapped up with 28,000 in pocket now, booting up the warehouse the next morning with the goal of upgrading every machine in here to max level, as I wasn't even close to 1 million yet. Waiting around, I got another 10k, purchasing the next of many upgrades. I had dreamt of automacy ever since I had arrived here, and now that it was achieved, I was more than happy to sit and receive capital. And look too, I'm getting ever closer to the 5,000 package submissions achievement. For these final 100 or so, I opened rail travel again the next morning, a huge storage all emptying straight into my pockets. Also, I hit 5,000. Hooray! Unfortunately, back to work though, as it looked like maritime storage was filling up and was overdue an upgrade. Bringing over all the required equipment, I built up the smart sorting system, connecting all the storages to the back, and wow, that was efficient, effective work that I was very proud of. Wait, nothing's moving. All of the packages seemingly frozen in time. Why? 2 packages had run into each other. I was unaware that that could happen. Now, it was 5 p.m, so deliveries had stopped, but seeing its volatility, I decided to wait until the system was flushed out. Wait, there's no movement again. Heading over to investigate, a package had got stuck in the sorting system. Had I angered the sorting package's deity? In an attempt to soothe the higher being's mood, I made an expensive order of storage system equipment, $16,000 worth for the Factory 1 air and maritime storage systems, as, you know, a sacrifice of my time. Luckily, I was getting good at building these up and had all 4 new storage racks erected and functional in no time at all. Waking up the following morning to open maritime travel, not plane travel. I watched all of the packages head to submission, greatly satisfied now that every single required outlet had a dedicated storage system until I noticed 13 incorrect packages. What had happened appearing at Factory 2, checking a box, they were the right cargo type. Then I realized the incorrect submissions were air packages already in the chute, but not submitted on air travel day, then were automatically submitted when the maritime packages appeared. Pretty unfortunate. I nevertheless made some decent money, spent responsibly on Factory 2 maxing it out fully, and moving on to Factory 3, on which I made some small progress. Bad news though, I was only 576,000 out of 1 million. I needed to think of a drastic efficiency upgrade or I'd be here for decades. First, letting through a massive pile of air parcels, I happened across a horrible sight. A giant traffic jam from the rejected packages, entirely caused by a single bugged parcel. Surely this was a one-off occurrence, I thought, as I watched the same thing happen to the next package on the line. Alright, fixing this as well. Immediately, the next package got stuck too. What was happening? With the storages not to the parcel deity's liking. Needing to please them, I upgraded 2 more machines with my funds, thinking of a brilliant plan. Seeing as Factory 1 was now supplied with only 1 delivery door, but Factory 3 seemed to be struggling, I purchased some equipment and built a smart diverting system, so both of them would run at maximum capacity. See, I was in the business of small improvements now. The rest of my warehouse was perfectly functional. 8 incorrect puzzles. According to my tablet, maritime puzzles were the issue, so heading over to investigate, I found nothing wrong other than a massive buildup because some conveyors were facing each other. But wait, following this track, the air storage turned out to be connected to Factory 3's maritime output. Quickly swapping them correctly, now the system was flawless. Proven by the fact, heading to sleep, I made 49,000 in revenue today, quickly catching the 1 million mark. That's not the only achievement though, and while I let my factory run, my course of action was completing the others. First up, score a basket. Purchasing a basketball, I appeared in the break room and got to work attempting to shoot a midi. Unfortunately, I'm almost as bad in-game as I am in real life, and failing to get a single one in, I just spammed from under the ring, eventually getting it. Hooray! In need of an ego boost though, I returned to distance shots, quickly giving up and leaving. This was when a true detriment occurred. I had 18 incorrect puzzles. What had gone wrong? Turns out I forgot to turn off air parcels. That's fine, all fixed up, no biggie, I thought. Grabbing another large load of conveyors, unhappy that 1 delivery door remained unutilized, got to work connecting it to Factory 2. Then thinking 3 doors are too much for 1 factory and working on connecting one of them to Factory 3 to lessen the load. Wait, 51 incorrect. My tablet was full of alerts. What had gone wrong? Had my entire system collapsed? Was there a fatal flaw? I checked the cargo sorters. No, for some strange reason, all the pauser conveyors had been switched on. I had never switched these on. I would never have air and maritime going at the same time. It was another bug. Still, everything was fixed now, and ordering more conveyors, I continued on my work of connecting another delivery door to Factory 3, made unfortunately impossible thanks to the lack of space. I had not created this grand structure. Giving up though, and purchasing another sticker scanner, I decided to have these run through the separate machine that joined up the tracks leading into Factory 3. This would drastically increase efficiency as naturally the first machine was the most used. Nice, I hadn't meant it before, but this was my magnum opus. Unfortunately, the following morning, my magnum opus had broken down. The boxes just didn't go through. All the conveyors are facing the right way. There's no box clipped into the side of it until I realized the only issue was parcels headed up the bridge directly out of the scanner. Positive this couldn't be the issue, I scooched it over one anyways, watched in anticipation, and now it works flawlessly. You know what? If it's done, it's done. And I moved on to my next venture, that being to max out every conveyor in the entire warehouse. You see, there was no space now for new infrastructure. My only way of increasing profits was to speed everything up. Little did I know how much of an impact this would ultimately make. For now though, Factory 1 seemed to be at a standstill. Why? You guessed it, a single bugged package. It's alright, I'll be here to fix it, spending the entire day upgrading as many conveyors as I could, going to bed and appearing in the warehouse the next morning to do the exact same thing again. I had plenty of funds, but now and then I got a single notification for a package missing its inspection sticker. I wasn't actually sure how this had happened, discouraged to see some rail also got through while I was pondering. I don't even know. I spent the night once again upgrading the conveyors, having almost finished every track in the warehouse. Alright, unfortunate realization once again, the rail storage was full already. This probably meant the upgraded conveyors were doing more than I expected, so erecting the storage equipment in a good mood. Simply for safety, I continued to upgrade the conveyors, knowing they were a solid investment until I ran out of money, waiting for more money and getting back to upgrading, and that's it. All the conveyors were now fully upgraded. My factory was just about as efficient as it could ever be, but I was plagued by this same no inspection sticker applied issue. It was small but annoying. So heading around my factory, I tried to locate the cause of the disturbance. You know, this really shouldn't be happening. I genuinely have no idea. My train of thought was interrupted when I found a small holdup once again caused by a bugged package. What was worse though was the launcher I found couldn't function because the conveyor in front of it was filled with packages. Why would this ever affect it? No point in questioning it. I fixed up the area for easier launching, and since this was a heavy traffic area, I built in a small runoff system if things got too congested. That was good work. Next, purchasing another load of storage equipment because look at this, Factory 2's rail storage was completely full. Again, a reminder that the conveyors were in fact a good investment, completing the upgraded storage system, and you know, this is all getting slightly tedious. So pivoting my focus, I wanted to get the secret achievement in this game. All I knew about it was it involved bananas. Unfortunately, this was a short-lived quest, as the next morning I found the air packages were overflowing. Maritime was also in big trouble. The conveyors had made my factory so efficient, the storages couldn't keep up, totally beginning to upgrade the capacity. Oh my goodness. Remember the parcel runoff I created? Well, it didn't work at all. Plan B was utilizing smart diverters, but this also seemingly didn't work. Happy to see the day had ended, allowing me to use the pallet to simply carry all the strewn packages to the chute and submit them. Much like the machines, I expected the cleanup would make it work, but it still refused. I have no idea, opting instead to purchase more goods and complete the upgrade of the air parcel storage along with the maritime storage. On a roll now. I also attempted to repair the parcel runoff, or at least I thought I did. Now the reason behind the holdup were the bridge conveyors. They're 3 long, but can only hold 1 parcel at a time, just creating a whole traffic jam. My downfall was the overuse of the bridges I so adored. So getting to work replacing them with straight conveyors, I also put down a sticker applier right before the chute as to catch the strays that were getting through. Hooray, I'd completed some major upgrades. Hopefully, I could reach 1 million soon. Back to bananas though. Actually, first, I needed to expand the air storage as to avoid a catastrophe. Wait, look over there. A gigantic buildup, a complete mess, a tragedy. How did this happen? That's right, a single bugged package. Luckily, I did have the large pallet, so picking everything up, I diligently repaired the issue, along with completing the newly upgraded air storage, which worked a charm, to the point that I opened the parcels to pass the following morning to end up with almost 100,000 in the bank. I'm rich. My factory works. At long last, banana time. I had no idea on where to start exploring the break room, finding a fork in the microwave. Pretty dangerous stuff. Next, I took a look outside, seeing my competitor across the fence, M. McDoway. I bet my factory is cooler. In the other corner of the outside space, I could see all the delivery trucks lined outside my factory. No banana in sight at all. Alright, my home was next, looking around it and finding a sink in a tight space. I couldn't see anything from here, no bananas, so I looked around inside my house. Nothing. Taking a quick break to check on my factory, which was running well, then seeing a garbage bag. Wait. If I stand on the sink and jump on top of the garbage bag, hopping over, I made it onto my shipping container. And with that, I had got out of bounds. Running around exploring the strange cityscape I was living in, I found some bits of broken map, some windows with actual interior shaders. Pretty cool. Running down to the trucks and finding some stairs that didn't work. I just slide off. This was very fun though, and continuing my exploration, I came across some particularly dark flooring, stepping on and falling under the map. Look at my factory though, looks pretty cool. Respawning myself, I noticed these 667 packages completed today and slept. I was excited the following morning, getting the factory running again. I hopped out of bounds to continue my exploration. I ran around the same direction, spotting a protruding doorstep, jumping to stand on it and sliding off. Appearing back at home, I hopped out of bounds once again, this time looking for the banana as it was the only lead I had. I came across the other side of my warehouse, nothing here at all. Looping back around, I spotted a cargo container in the corner. Investigating inside, I found the bananas. Very large bananas. Hooray, achievement complete. I wanted to find some extra out of bounds though, so using the garbage, I attempted to get onto the delivery truck, falling right through the roof. I'm inside my warehouse. It was a good run, but now I was 998,000 out of 1 million profit. So wanting to be around for this achievement, I opened air travel and sat around for a wonderful time lapse. Wait, why are there no packages? Ding ding, correct, a bugged parcel. Awesome stuff. Everything was back in order, and as my factory submitted parcel after parcel, I eventually got the 1 million achievement. I had one achievement left though, that being to purchase my first decorative item. I had no end of funding, so I bought the nicest inspection table and 2 large plants, getting the last achievement and completing the game. I put them down and for some time watched my beautiful creation work in perfect harmony. This moment was the magnum opus all along. I had massive storages, various factories, and tucked away was my very first inspection table. I sat at my new one and watched. Please consider subscribing if you enjoyed, and at enough likes, I'll consider taking this game to its limits. Thanks for watching.